Welcome back. So this will be regarding CATIA Imagine and Shape, how to use the mapping of a picture on top of a subdivision. So the feature will be creation detail modeling. And as we can see over here, the case study will be with the following logo. Now, the same functionality has always been available within 3D modeling software such as 3ds Max, Maya, or Blender. And I have over here the same example. We have the logo from Adidas. And currently I'm within sculpting environment and I have a stencil using that logo. That means if I'm gonna drag the mouse on top of this, we're gonna have that image transferred to that mesh. If I'm gonna rotate around, I'm gonna press S to hide it. The mesh will look like this. So I'm just gonna undo this. And let's have that redraw. And I will also smoothen out. So initially I'm gonna draw it. Afterwards, I'm going to hold down Shift and I will also smooth this out. Now if I'm going to rotate and we're going to check the output, mesh will look like this. If I will go within layout, I can also do some changes to the auto smoothing over here, and we're going to see that now the surface will be a lot more smoother. So the same principle will also be available within CATIA. But for this subdivision, in order to work, we see over here on the statistics that currently this mesh will be defined by 2 million triangles. That means if I'm going to zoom in, I will enable the wireframe. We're going to see how fine that mesh will be in order to have those elements, let's say, added to the 3D model. Now, let's jump within CATIA and see what exactly we can also do over here and what will be the limitations regarding this. So we can have this apply onto any kind of imagine and shape surface. So for this example, I will go with something simple, for example, a rectangle, which will be similar to a plane within Blender. So the functionality will be the same. So I will select, for example, the X and Y plane. I will create a rectangle over here, which will be the following. The main difference is that within Blender, when I'm creating a plane, I will also subdivide that. So I will have multiple vertices that can be, let's say, deformed in order to take the shape of the image. Over here, the functionality will be different. We're going to start with a simple surface, and CATIA will do that subdivision when we're going to use that feature. So I'm going to go over here and I will select IMA creation detail modeling. I'm going to see that I have a rectangle over here that I can resize for the vertical and horizontal. I can also rotate it over here and I can center it over here from the middle. I'm going to add the image using this select image toolpath and I will select Adidas. We're going to see that the first difference will be that we're going to have the following, let's say, notification. Currently, the image has 600 pixels for the x-axis and 600 for the y-axis. And CATIA will want to resize this to only have 200. So initially, I'm going to hit yes, and we're going to have that compressed. Now we have over here a slider for the detail level. And by default, this will be set to 4. We're going to have 2 at the bottom, and all the way at the top, it will be 7. We're going to say 7 will be the maximum level of detail. Now, in order to have that image applied, I'm going to click over here somewhere on the exterior. And if I'm going to rotate, we're going to see the following shape appearing. So it does resemble that logo, but since we don't have enough details onto the mesh, it will look like this. So I'm going to jump to level 5 and we're going to see it will start to look a little bit better. If I'm going to jump to 6, we're going to have even more details. I can then go up to 7. At 7 it will look like this. We also see the square where that image was centered. So this was a JPEG. Usually it's recommended to use PNG files so that you're going to have transparency also when you're working with this kind of, let's say, images as stencils. And over here, if I will go, for example, to 8, we're going to see that the value of 8 will be out of range in this case. Now, if I'm going to press space, this will leave that environment, and I'm going to see the plane like this. But if I'm going to press escape, we're going to have that appear within CATIA. Keep in mind that within the product tree, we're going to have the initial subdivision, which was the plane, and afterwards, we're going to have this subdivision hybrid. If I'm going to expand the hybrid, I can see a detail mapping. I can double click on that. And again, I will have the possibility to play around with this. If I want to, I can rotate it, I can scale it, and I can move it along. This will work also onto non-planar surface, and this is why it's quite interesting and really powerful. We can also do some changes over here. For example, if we want this to be reverse, so this will be the reverse for the side. We see it over here. This will be backwards, so it will be visible over here. We can also have it reverse on the V, on the vertical axis. This will flip the image like that. And we can also have it reverse on the Z-axis. We're going to see that the Z-axis will actually do the following. So we have the orientation of the image onto that surface. We can also edit the amplitude over here. So the amplitude will be the amount of displacement. This is currently set to 8. If I'm going to go to 2, I'm going to press tab. It will look like this. If I'm going to go, for example, to 111, it will further be elongated. So this is quite similar to ZBrush sculpt strength when we are doing that initial brush. So the same functionality applies over here. I had over here a hair strength, and I also start on the middle. And we can also adjust those curves that we can use for sculpting within Blender. And let's just set this to 11, so that will be a lot better. We can also have this zero color detail, and we can use this in order to filter some of the noise on the image. In this case, if I will go all the way to the back, you're going to see that, let's say that cutout where we have that logo will be further displaced. So initially we have a large displacement since this was a JPEG. Everything that was white now will be maximum extended. And if I will go zero level over here all the way to 255, which is the maximum value, this will ignore that white background in this case. So if you are working with JPEG, keep in mind that you can work with that. This will be the drawing view. So depending, this will, let's say, take you to the normal view in this case. I can click OK, and we're going to have that applied. So this will be the output. I can go ahead and apply a new detail. Let's say that I want a new one over here. As we can see, this will already have that information from the previous one. So over here, if I will go to select image, let's say that I want to use this logo, which we see over here will be a PNG. The dimension will be higher. So 1500 by 1500 compared to 600 by 600. And even for that, CATIA wanted to have that resized. If I'm going to add this, it will ask me if I want to have this resized. Initially, I'm going to hit yes, and we're going to have that resize over here. And we can drag along that logo over here. If I'm going to increase the level of detail onto the surface, let's go all the way to 7. I'm going to click onto the exterior. I'm going to click yes. We're going to have the following problem since we had 2 of those applied. I'm just going to make this one not active at the moment. So I can have that deleted. I see that I cannot have that just set to inactive. So in this case, the initial one I'm just going to delete. And I'm going to double click on the second detail map. And I'm going to add this image again. So this will be the logo. Let's have it applied. And we see CATIA struggling to apply that. And this is one of the drawbacks that I notice when I'm working with this. Within Blender, it's a lot more smooth. If I want to apply multiple stances to the same, it will perform better. But within CATIA, it has a little bit of struggling when we work with this kind of displacement. Mainly because CATIA is a CAD solution, and at the same time, it will also try to convert that to a surface. While within Blender, we're gonna remain that within the same, let's say, mesh editing. In this case, we see that this has went into a not responding, and this is something that I also encounter when I try to use the image that will not be compressed. So the initial resolution, again, the same not responding, and CATIA would close for that. So in this case, we're going to set it also decided to close without notification. So previously, it usually said that it encountered a problem and needs to close. Now it just decided to close. Okay, so let me know in the comment section what is your opinion regarding this. In my opinion, it's quite a good direction for 3D Experience CATIA to implement this kind of displacement, but I will still prefer to use them within Blender. And only afterwards have this exported, maybe as an STL, and have it converted within maybe quick surface reconstruction within CATIA. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. I'm gonna position a similar video over here on the left side, and I will also add a subscribe button to the right. So that's it. Thanks for watching.